Like, this is the other thing. Like, art doesn't have to just go on, like, prominent, fancy walls.
No.
Like, it can go on bathroom shelves and it can go, you know, I don't know where, like, in hallways and, like, anywhere you can kind of find a little nook and cranny that's empty.
Hi, I'm George, the co-founder of Bluethumb, and I'm joined by my colleague Amy. Welcome to the Art in My Home podcast.
We uncover the surprising stories from the art collections of unexpected guests.
Today's guest is Courtney Adamo. She's the founder of Baby Chino Kids. She's a book author, podcaster, and the creator of a popular course that helps mums navigate motherhood. Her podcast, Renovation Ready, is a great resource for anyone wanting to get their home ready for transformation and kind of done just right. And as a seasoned podcaster, I am hoping she might be able to give Amy and I a couple of tips as we go. Welcome to the pod, Courtney.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to be here in your beautiful Bangalow home. Could you tell us about kind of how you started, choosing your home and how you set it up and started decorating it?
Yeah, well, we moved here from London. So we lived in London for 12 years. We lived in old homes, as you do there. We had renovated an old home, terraced home there, and we loved it. And then we sold everything and we traveled and we moved here. And so when we were looking to buy a home, I just kept feeling attracted to older homes. And just with that character and, it's funny because we're a big family. There are 7 of us, and you'd find all these old homes, and they really didn't suit our families.
Yeah, sure.
They're small, they're titchy, but I just love them so much. And so we were actually renting up the street, and I just kept walking past this house, and it came up for sale, and I thought, well, it's probably too small. And it's only 3 bedrooms, and at the time, only 1 bathroom.
Wow, for 7.
Yeah. And I came and saw it, and I just loved it, and I thought we just have to squeeze our family in here.
Yeah.
So, and we renovated it a little bit and added a bathroom and modernized the kitchen and did some bits and pieces here and there. And doing that renovation was kind of natural for me because I had just done a renovation on an old home. So I just kind of did what I did in London. And, it was all really straightforward. So, then we moved into here, and we've just been here, since then.
Yeah. Did you sort of have a theme when you were doing the reno, or you just did what you liked? Or
I'm not good at like a theme. I kind of just do what I like.
Yeah.
I mean, when we renovated both in London and here, I felt like you start with this really old heritage home. This was the first house built in Bangalow, so it's like 130 something years old.
Wow.
And I felt like you really have to honor a home like that. And so obviously this whole kitchen's new, but we made it to look old. So we just, and with light fixtures and taps and hardware, I just kind of kept choosing ones that felt like it looked like the era of the home.
Yeah,
it was
totally.
built in. Obviously, it's modern in the way that it is new, but in terms of decorating, I don't know. I it's hard for me to put my finger on what I like, but I want my home to feel like us.
yeah.
I find for me my favorite homes that I've ever been in are ones where you go in and you have such a sense of the people who live there, what they like, where they've traveled. You'll see a guitar propped up against the wall. You can see someone plays guitar, or there's riding boots and someone rides horses, or whatever it is. You can really get a sense of what they love doing and who they are. And I hope that when you come in my home, you get that sense too of that there are kids around and they're very creative, and there's jars of crayons in the bookshelves and kids' books and kids' art, and it feels like us.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's a really very sympathetic to the period kind of renovation.
Yeah.
What you call it, yeah. Because it's not like a big they tend to do it these days, the box on the back of the old houses. There's none of that here.
I think that it would have been maybe smart because there's a function to that.
Course.
Like this house is cold in the winter. It doesn't get a lot of light because it doesn't have big, glass everywhere, and you know, and it is titchy. We're sitting around a dining table, and and if anyone needs to pass you, you have to scoot your chair in, and you know, it's not like it doesn't flow super well, but I love the character, and you know, it's tricky. I fall in and out of love with this home because we built a beach house down the coast, and we did it in a modern way. And of course, when you build a home from scratch, it's like it stays warm in the winter, it's cool in the summer, it's smart.
Yep.
And it flows so much better, and all of those things. And so when we go there, I'm like, oh, it's so easy. And then you come back here and it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Titchy.
It's always that trouble with between old and new. Like you're like, oh, I just love the character, but then like the modern is just so easy and like to clean and to live
totally.
and functional.
Oh,
and,
I'm like woken up in the night every time the kids have to go to the toilet because the floorboards creak and the door handles like make the loudest like clanking sound.
Totally.
And if you want to open a window, you basically need like 5 people. It's just like things like that. But then it's so charming
and beautiful.
You got to work for the charm.
That's so true. Oh no, I think it's just beautiful. How do you balance having such like a really like well decorated house with having 5 kids in it as well at the same time?
That's definitely something that's challenging, and you know, something that I'm conscious of and I work hard at. Like I tidy up a lot.
Sure.
You know, little simple things like I vacuum every morning after the kids go to school, and I put away all their stuff that they've left in the bathroom, and I try to like make the house tidy. And then they come home at 3:15 off the school bus, and it's like, you know, and then before we go to bed, we try to keep it tidy again so you wake up to, you know, those kind of things. But I think really it comes down to just not having a lot of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
You know, that was the lesson we learned when we left London. We kind of were astounded by how much stuff we'd collected, even though we don't consider ourselves like, you know, clutterers or collectors of things, and like quite minimalist in lots of ways. When you have kids, the stuff just comes in the house somehow. And so when we left London, we've all made a point of like never doing that again, where you just kind of let stuff collect and build. And even when you live consciously like that, it still does. So, but you know, like this house is old, like I said, and there's not a lot of storage. And so we're really forced not to have a lot of stuff. And, you know, our kids, like, I think people think when they have kids, they've got to have a zillion toys and one of everything. And our kids don't have a lot of toys, but they've got really like beautiful intentional toys, and they play well with it. And I don't know, it's hard because it is something I go back and forth on. Like, we have too many things, you know. But it kind of keeps us reined in being in a small house with not a lot lot of storage.
Yeah, that's great. Sure. It's like a forced Marie Kondo. Although even she
totally.
Yeah, cool. I wanted to ask about the art because obviously, you know, we've seen some of the pieces you sort of have already talked about or ahead of time. But yeah, I'd love to hear about some of your favourite pieces you've got in the house.
Yeah. Well, we've got like probably the most special piece to us are the 2 paintings in the hallway by a friend who's an artist, and he's an American artist, lives in Brussels, Jeff Coach. He normally does really large-scale paintings, but he had done these 3 small paintings, and we have always loved his art. And of course, he's a friend. We've gone and stayed with him, and he's come to London and with his family, and he sells his pieces for a lot of money, and you know, we really saved and we splurged and bought those 3 pieces. And because he's a friend, and because I think it was such an investment for us, those pieces have kind of traveled all over, like to every home we've lived in, and so we love that.
And do you sort of, even when you came into this, say, new house, did you sort of know fairly quickly, like, I think these pieces are going to go in this important place in the house? Is that
it's funny because they're in the hallway right now, which isn't the most important like place. Like they're not like on display above the fireplace mantle or something. But I walk past that like 1,000 times a day. And so I feel like I see it and I love it.
Yep.
I just kind of feel like you have to give the piece the proper place in your home, not just based on its value, you know. I also find a lot of art at op shops, and that's a really fun way of collecting art because it's not about who painted it or how fancy it is or what's trendy or what's cool. It's like I just, if I see it and I love it, I get it, you know. And like sometimes it comes down to like if it's in a really pretty frame and it has some colors that I think are going to go well in my home, or maybe I just really love it. A lot of the art is actually from op shops.
Awesome.
Like for $1.
Yeah.
You know, like
Fantastic.
living in London, when you say an op shop or charity shop, it'd be like still kind of expensive. But here it's like $1, $2.
Yeah. And sort of behind you there on the living room wall, there's like, is that a salon hang?
Salon
Amy?
hang, yeah. I would call it
like a gallery wall.
Yeah, gallery wall.
And so there's a lot of smaller pieces and a couple of big ones, but they all have really interesting frames as well, and some antique kind of gold frames, and there's a real, I don't know the vibe, but there's kind of like, there's a distinct kind of salon hang vibe.
Yeah.
It's the best way I could put it. So was that intentional, or you just had a bunch of small art, like, oh, cool, I want to throw this all in one spot, or?
So I think we'd lived here for 2 or 3 years before I put that up there, and that was kind of just like I found a lot of things at op shops, and then I was like, oh, I think I have enough to fill that wall.
Yeah, sure.
I think before we'd had like a bigger piece there, and so that just kind of came about because I had a cupboard full of stuff.
It's nice. It fits with the furniture and the theme, I think, really well.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like I remember when I put it up and I shared it on Instagram, I had like, you know, people always feel opinionated
Of course.
in that space.
They do. Social media, no.
You know, I've learned like you never pay, like you can't take the good or the bad too seriously because like, everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
But I remember some people said, "Oh, like you've mixed old with new. You can't do that." And I was like, "Oh,
God."
Like I never really think about that. Like this is a modern piece. That's a modern photograph. Like there are some modern and some old. I don't know. I just feel the colors kind of need to go, and then that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have like a rule on that.
For sure.
I was unaware of that rule.
Yeah. Are you still adding to this wall? Like, if you find something, do you add to it? Yeah.
And every once in a while, I'll find something and swap it.
Yeah, sure. I haven't done much for that in a while. No, I love it. Like, I think if I was let loose on a big wall, I'd just like try and cram
so many
every
things
inch.
in.
Yeah. Goals.
And I can see a little Matisse kind of a print or lithograph, I think, over there. Mm-hmm. And it's funny, the abstract, the three pieces you're talking about. I've forgotten Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Coat.
Yeah, Jeff Coat. Yeah.
Our abstract.
Somehow his style reminds me a little bit of Matisse's big blocks of colour too.
Yeah.
And it actually seems kind of themed to me. I don't know, when I was looking at them together.
I'm always like, when I go into museums, I'm always attracted to the modern art and the abstract art and the Picasso and Matisse. And I'm sure like many people, I know. So I like that, yeah. And the Matisse lithograph, I was at a flea market outside of Paris, one of these really beautiful flea markets, and I was with my sister, and I had one of my babies in a carrier, and we found this art seller guy, this old guy, and he was selling art, and he had these lithographs, and he was like, they're like original lithographs, like not just like you don't buy this off Etsy, you know. And they were kind of expensive, and like it was like I'm sitting there, and it's anytime you're spending money on art, you've got to really love it. And,
of course.
And so I bought them, and so again, those are two favorite. One's here above this little sofa, and one's in my bedroom, and they're such favorite pieces. It's the memory too of buying it and where we got it, and being with my sister. And it's those things that I think make a home really feel like like they have soul, you know, because there's like a story being told with the art that you're hanging.
And the connection you have to it as well. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. When you're looking for artworks, in particular maybe modern artworks, besides the works that you're finding in the op shops, how are you hunting down artists and artworks that I think you had a work by a Miranda, was it? Like, is it possibly this one above your fireplace?
That's the block shop.
Oh, the block shop.
textiles.
Yeah. I was wondering like how you kind of hunt down the works that you're thinking you want to purchase, or if you just come across them and you kind of...
Yeah, it's
I
funny.
really
I
want
don't
it.
really
Yeah.
hunt down. Like in our beach house down the coast, I've got a wall in the dining room that needs a piece of art, but I just don't feel like I can go hunt down a piece for it. It's a weird thing, but I'm like, I haven't even looked. And it's needed an art for like 18 months now. But I just know that when I find a piece that's right for that wall, I'm going to love it. So like... Block Shop Textiles, I met them. We're sort of online friends, and I really love what they do. And I bought that when we bought this house because I knew it would look good above the fireplace. And it's like things like, it's hand printed on handmade paper, which is so cool. Like,
very cool.
Little details like that I just love or I'm attracted to. But yeah, I mean, I find sometimes I see things on Instagram.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great way to find things. I found, I'm going to forget her name, which is terrible because I'd love to share her name. But she's, I think, based in Melbourne, and she's a beautiful artist. And I bought a painting for our house. Before we even started building, I was like, I love this painting so much. It almost influenced the way we built that house and the colors we chose. Because I love that painting so much, and it's hung in the hallway right when you walk in. And, like when I was choosing upholstery fabrics, I just brought in that painting because I just loved that painting so much. So, yeah.
We'll find the name.
Yes,
we'll
sorry.
Yeah, no. Yeah,
I'm terrible at remembering things.
And if she was based in Melbourne, did you sort of found it on the internet, just buy it, ship it up, and hope
Yes, I called. I think she had a gallery. She
Yep.
was in a gallery, and I just called there and... my mom actually bought it for my 40th birthday, so
Oh, that's lovely.
So it means a lot. Yeah.
So it was a special piece. Yeah,
I've obviously we're an online thing. I mostly buy art, off a phone, and then it turns up, and you sort of open the box.
Yeah,
And like almost always, it's so much better in the flesh. You see all the detail. And it's like, oh my god,
Yeah.
It's almost. I've never had it where it's like the opposite.
yeah.
Did you see it in the flesh before you bought it?
No, I hadn't seen it. I'd just seen it online.
Yeah.
And actually the same for the print behind you.
Yeah.
Caroline Denevard, I think is her name. She's a French artist, and I've just been following her on Instagram for years, and she's just cool. She does like cool things. She puts on like cool outfits and like she's just cool. Yeah.
It's generally very cool.
And I love the colors that she uses.
Yeah.
And I just knew I wanted to buy something of hers eventually. So I just followed her for like a long time. And it was the same with that artist in Melbourne. I kind of followed her for a long time. And then when I saw she had exhibition at a gallery, and I called the gallery, and they still had that piece that I liked still available. So
Awesome. Do you remember unboxing it? Like, was it the same? Was it same, better, different when you got it? Or?
yeah, better, always better.
Yeah.
I feel when you see art in real life. Yeah, definitely. It's so impressive to see the real deal.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you like to have your kids' art displayed around the house as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that like there's no better way to personalize a family home than with your children's art, because it's like the most unique thing. And it obviously instills pride in them, and encourages them to be creative because, you are hanging it on the wall. And it's such a colorful addition to a home.
Yeah, definitely. I like kids' art. I think it's just like so like innocent and like, and like makes them think that you're really proud, like that you can show their art.
Yeah, I mean, another thing I do is I go to op shops and I just collect frames, and that's like you can get those for 50 cents, and sometimes they're really beautiful timber frames, and so I have a stash of frames in the cupboard, and if the kids do a nice piece of art, I'll just stick it in a frame. And you don't even have to hang it. Like, you can just prop it up on their dresser or on a shelf.
Yeah,
and
totally.
they just have such pride that they've had something framed,
Yeah.
you know?
I love that.
Yeah.
In my mum's house.
That's great. I'm going to go do that. I'm going to buy some like antique gold ones for my 2-year-old's drawing.
It's so
Smart.
cool. Like, I mean, I've got in the on a bathroom shelf. Like, this is the other thing. Like, art doesn't have to just go on like prominent fancy walls.
No.
Like, it can go on bathroom shelves, and it can go, you know, I don't know where, like in hallways and like anywhere you can kind of find a little nook and cranny that's empty. So I've got a little framed piece of art from my 4th child, Malo, when she was little, and it's like just such cool colors and her little name written there. It's like so
Oh,
sweet.
that's adorable.
Love that.
Yeah.
So you are an OG on Instagram, I
Yes.
think. Yeah, you've been on since 2011.
I think
perhaps?
it's 2010 or 2011.
2010? Yeah, okay.
Back when like everyone had those filters that put a frame on there.
Oh,
yes.
The good old days.
Yeah.
Then you have to archive them because they look like terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, I only got on Instagram because I thought like, oh, how cool you can put this filter on this frame, on this photo. And then then someone was like, and like you can share that with your family. And, you know, my family lived overseas. So it was just like a fun way to share photos with my family. Yeah.
Amazing.
I had obviously no intentions of it ever becoming a very public thing.
Yeah, sure.
And I guess it now is for you. You have a huge following. What's the most rewarding part of that?
I love connecting with other people around the world, mostly mothers, and because of what I do and share. I love that part. I feel like I love seeing what other people get up to. I love finding inspiration there and, you know, being inspired, you know, to do a craft with my kids or cook a meal or whatever. Like, there's so much inspiration there. And I love just the friend. I mean, my best friend in the world I met through Instagram, and I can actually say like the next like 5 friends were, you know, like it's really like I've met some really important people through that platform and connected with so many other people. And of course I use Instagram to like promote my courses and my communities and my membership program. And so through those programs, I connect in a more deep and intimate way, which is so beautiful. But those relationships come from Instagram. You know, I have to credit it for that. You know, because there's a lot of things that I don't love about the app and social media in general. But there's so many wonderful things too.
Yeah, it's you know, I'm on Twitter, and I actually I've had I'm no one on Twitter, but I've made friends on there. I love it. And I guess it's, you know, when you have a smaller audience, I'm sure you have the people who found you are interested in your content, and so I'm sure are sort of connected to you. But at some point, when you have a big audience, there will be people, I'm sure, who aren't there to kind of, because they like your content, they're there to just kind of opinionate or criticise or whatever. So how do you deal with that? Do you get much criticism, or it's still not too bad?
I mean, I think it's always good to put that into perspective because, like, I could say I get criticism, which, you know, occasionally I do. But, like, when you think of, like, how many wonderful things people say, it's like really you shouldn't be focusing on the criticism.
Yeah.
It's just our nature, I think, especially probably women, to fixate on the one bad thing that someone said to you than to cling to the, you know, 100 good things that someone said. So I've definitely gotten better. I mean, I've been on Instagram for a long time, and obviously I've grown as a woman during that time too, and just become more confident in myself and less reliant on other people's approval. You know, I mean, that's a beautiful thing that happens as we age. And it's definitely helped me on that platform because I just care less and less about what people think of something. You know, and you know, the longer I've been on it, the more I realize how everybody has an opinion, you know. and so many different opinions. You know, I can put something in stories where people then, you know, leave a comment on, and, you know, of course no one's seeing that but me. And it'll be someone, you know, I'll put like a new blouse, or I'll share like the mugs I bought at the op shop, and you'll get the most varied response to it. You know, some people are like, those are the ugliest mugs I've ever seen. And then someone's like, oh my God, those are so cool. And it's like, you're just, you realize you just actually cannot please everyone. Like, and it almost forces me to care more about what I think about something, because it's futile to try to win everyone over. So you really kind of have to just think, do I love this? You know, am I doing a good thing here? You know, is what I'm saying true and right? And, you know, is it coming from a good place? And so I think it can, definitely you can get like mean people on that platform.
Any platform, I think. But
It always baffles me, because I just think, you know, there's so many feeds. There are so many feeds to follow. And if someone doesn't like what I'm sharing, why are they even wasting their time following me? I'm just like, go somewhere else, you know? Like,
get a job.
It doesn't make you feel good, you know? It's like, I mean, I just think if I was following someone who put something up that I didn't like or agree with, or I found her to be a phony or whatever, I would just unfollow, because it doesn't make you feel good when you feel like that. You know, it's just like, it's so weird.
It's really weird. Like, when you think about, like, it's
way too
truly
practical.
strange that these people are just like, no, don't you have anything better to do, like, with your time? Like, astounding. They're so interesting.
I've got one more question on that. Before I really want to talk about the podcast and the renovation stuff, but in 2019, Vanity Fair wrote an article that, you know, in my opinion, took a really unfair angle about influencers in general. And obviously, you'd achieved a ton at that time. You know, you published a book. You'd kind of had that Baby Chino Kids, the successful business. And since then, with 2019 to now, it seems that entrepreneurs with a very big social following, or, you know, influencers or whatever, it's become a normal, acceptable career. And so, that article has not aged well from that point anyway. But you didn't really say anything. You kind of had a dignified silence, I think. What was the wash up from that?
It's weird. It's like, even you talking about that article, I can feel my heart start to race, because I can just remember how vulnerable I felt at that time when that article came out, and just how I felt so attacked by so many people who don't know me. And really, like, what was written in that article was actually, there were a lot of like lies, like really bad journalism, and dangerous insinuations about things. And it's just like, to be on the receiving end of that felt really awful. I mean, I feel like, I mean, I'm dramatizing it probably, but I felt like I learned a lot from that, in that my instinct was to defend myself, right? To go out and publicly say, this is a lie, I never said that, she's a snarky woman, you know, all these things. I could have said anything, right? But I kind of had to learn a really valuable lesson in myself, that actually it doesn't matter what all these people think of me. And the people who were reading that article who wanted to believe those lies are people who are just not going to like me anyway. I'm never going to win someone over by saying, no, like me, I promise that's not true. If you don't like me, if you've chosen not to like me, you're not going to like me. And probably if you've chosen not to like me for the reasons that she was sort of, you know, that jealousy she was perpetuating and this sense of judgment that she wanted to kind of encourage, if you're a person who bought into that, you're probably not a happy person that is going to like what I'm doing. So I just had to choose to be silent. And I even had like really good friends say, you should defend yourself. You should say, you know, that you don't feel that, you know, like there was this whole bit about privilege, you know, and I had a friend that was like, but you know you're privileged. Like, why you need to defend yourself and say that? And I said, yeah, no, I know I'm enormously privileged, but I don't need to go and say it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I just didn't say anything. And also I felt like the more I said, the more media was just going to, and the more attention that article was going to get ultimately. So I just said nothing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've learned a lot about, I learned lots of valuable lessons about like, you can't trust people who say that, that journalist came saying she was going to write this really beautiful article about women supporting other women in Byron about these beautiful businesses.
No.
Yeah. She came to my home twice.
God.
Saying, I'm writing this article about this. It wasn't even about influencers. It was about how we all have our own businesses and we're able to help support each other in a small community.
Yeah. Oh, and it literally did the opposite. Just a hatchet job on women.
Why must she tear other women down?
I know, it's really, it says a lot about her.
It's so disappointing when she had such a platform.
And such a big magazine too. I used to read Vanity Fair.
Yeah.
I loved it when Graydon Carter was the editor there. I thought it was such a great magazine. And when she reached out, I was like, oh, how amazing!
Yeah, for sure. So disappointing.
Yeah, really disappointing.
Yeah.
And bad journalism too, because she just put so many things in that article that are just not true.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah.
Look, karma, what goes around comes around.
Anyway, I could go on and
on. For sure.
Okay. Well, that's super interesting. And look, you've done a bunch of really big, interesting things since then as well, which I wanted to talk about. So you had a podcast. I think it looks like it's on hiatus from the last couple of months maybe, but you did a lot of episodes all last year about renovation.
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, that was really cool. I did a podcast with Natalie Walton, who's a stylist and an author, and she has a well-known podcast herself. And so it was a really easy transition into podcasting because she already did it and knew how to do it and had all the equipment. And she runs online courses and I run online courses, and so it was really fun to join forces and do one together. So we created a course on renovating, and then this podcast was kind of a side job for that. And it was so fun to have that podcast and to dive into that world. Such a different thing to what I normally do. I'm normally about parenting and obviously that was renovating, which was so fun to do that with her.
And what was sort of, I guess, what did you learn the most working with her over that time?
Well, Natalie is like a machine. She is such a go-getter, and she's so smart and so driven. And so I learned so much just from her, just in what she does and this incredible work ethic that she has. And she's really quick at turning things around. And so, I really felt like I had to step it up. I just have worked for myself for so long that I go at my own pace, which gets the job done, but Natalie's like next level. I learned a lot from her and also from having a partnership too, you know?
Yeah.
It's so great to be able to bounce ideas off each other, and we come from it with different styles and different strengths, and so that was really cool too.
Yeah, for sure. And I love, I co-founded this, and I love actually having someone to whinge to. Yeah. When something goes wrong.
Totally. It's not just your fault.
Just feel my pain.
It was, it's really good. Like, I think it was, also, again, nice to connect with people on a completely different topic than what I normally am chatting to people about.
Yeah. And, you renovated your London place and this place, and sort of, done podcasts and
your
course
beach
on
house
it.
too.
Yeah,
the beach house, yes.
That was the biggest.
Learning.
I was going to say, what country is better to renovate in, Australia or England?
Oh gosh, I don't know. That's a really tricky question to answer, and really different in the way that everything
runs legally and everything.
I just think it all comes down to the people you hire and your specific job. When we renovated this house, we had a really great builder. like stayed on schedule. It was like, it went really well. We built that little studio up there with a different builder, and he was like, he came in perfectly on time and on budget, like no complaints. I mean, like lucky, right?
Yeah, really.
So lucky. And so I think naively we just assumed that building a house would be easy. We'd done these big renovation projects. We'd pretty much gone well. And it didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, we learned, we had to learn the hard way a few things. And, you know, it was, also there were things that were out of anyone's hands, like really, really terrible weather. It was that rainy year and all the flooding. And it was during COVID, so there were so many delays and shortages on materials. And then, of course, everything was so much more expensive than even what was quoted 3 months prior. Like, there were so many things that went wrong. But, yeah, that project was not as successful as previous ones.
Sure. But the outcome is something you're very happy with.
Yeah. It's so, like, I know, I'd do it again.
Yeah.
You know, it's a massive job, and it's, you know, draining. Like, I've definitely lost, like, I don't know, countless hours of sleep over silly decisions. But such a rewarding job. Yeah.
And starting from scratch, like, is the dream. You know, the beach house from scratch.
Yeah, it's a dream, but it's also hard because, like, when we renovated this house and our home in London, and when we built that, it was like, oh, let's just, like, stick with the style of the home it is. And, you know, the parameters are, you know, narrower, and like building a house from scratch, it can be anything, and that's like hard to then really know what you want it to be. Yeah. And in all of the design decisions that you have to make, it's a minefield, you know, and so that, I mean, we found it really tricky, but then, like you said, really rewarding, because you've got this home that's like exactly how you want it to be, with all these details that you've chosen personally, and you know, and it suits you and your family. So
and with I guess with kind of decorating it, and so I'm interested in, you know, the art and the furniture and the interior decoration. How did that fit into that whole process? Was it get the bones right, get the style, and then move on to kind of the decoration, or was it there earlier, or how did you approach it?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it took us a while to figure out what kind of house we wanted to build. You know, like, I at first was like dreaming up like beachy, cottagey vibes, you know, like I had like all these homes that I'd follow on Instagram, you know, like beach shacks in Tassie, and like, just like, I was thinking, yes, let's do that. Or I kind of had the...
Can you build a cottage for 7 people?
I think, like, because I like this old charming thing, I was attracted to, like, that again. And then it kind of evolved, because we were like, wait a second, we should build something totally different than the house we live in. And also we were trying to build something that looked like it fit in this little fisherman village, and to look like it, we didn't want it to stand out or look obnoxious or anything like that. So, and we took a lot in, you know, the colors and the style and the feel, and it's like, I feel like it does fit there, like it does look good there. And so we built we were inspired by mid-century designs. We kind of built like a modern version of that, and it was kind of, I mean, obviously in my head I kind of knew how I wanted to decorate it, or, you know, the furniture I'd put in there, but obviously I didn't really do that till after the house was built. But it's like, it's mid-century, and it's like got this earthy vibe, and natural colors and tones, and
Did some pieces from here make it over to your beach house as well, or?
Not really, actually. Like, the stuff in here is different. The stuff in here suits this house, and the stuff there is like fits. It's nice because it's so different.
Yeah, kind of like we'd go and be like, oh, at a hotel kind of vibe.
Yeah, it feels that way.
A step
like
away.
You feel,
a bit removed from your kind of normal environment. Yeah,
it's funny because, like, I'll go into an op shop now and I'll find something, and my kids will say, "Oh, that's for mini water. That's not for Bangalow."
Oh,
like they know
the difference.
And I know as soon as I see it too, like what goes here and what goes there. pretty
No,
lucky.
that's cool that you're
Lucky.
like, obviously like your design style can translate over different canvases essentially.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Did you ever study design?
No, I studied journalism.
Oh, right. Okay.
But I just like it, and I'm a visual person, so I learn visually, and I kind of speak a visual language, and I just kind of know what I like.
Yeah.
And so, but I like a lot of things too. So it's hard to like narrow it.
Yeah. What type of art do you like? It's a very hard question.
It's such a hard
Yeah,
question. Yeah.
Oh,
I
God.
know it when I see it.
Yeah, it's totally. That's so true. I do know it when I see it. And actually, when you shop at op shops, it almost forces you to be better at knowing what you like. Yeah, it's funny because you just have to follow that instinct, listen to that inner thing.
Totally.
There's in my house there's kind of a Venn diagram of the art that's allowed in there, like my taste, and then my partner's taste.
Oh yeah.
And then the slither is allowed in, and all of hers is allowed in. Do you ever have to run your art decisions by your partner?
Yeah, I always do.
Yeah,
I mean, anytime
yeah.
we're spending money, it's
Even $1 at the op shop?
no, not the dollar at the op shop. But anything more than $1 at the op shop, I usually do. We have very similar taste, which is really lucky and nice, I guess, for that kind of decision making.
Yeah.
But I think it's also cool to have such different tastes too. My sister, she and her partner live in a cool apartment in Seattle, and they have different tastes, but it's so cool because it's like so diverse. Their collection of art and things.
Yeah, cool. Have you noticed kind of the design themes in these houses to be very different, US to here?
I do. I mean, I don't know how much truth there is to this, but my feeling or my impression is that Australia can be quite trend focused. It's a big country, but it's actually a small population. There's fewer people here than in the state of California. If you think about it like that, it always blows my mind when I think about it like that.
insane.
It's insane, right? And so I think what happens because it's such a small population is that it can be easy to follow a trend. But somebody has something nice, and then everyone, and because there's so few, whereas like living in London, I felt like none of my friends' homes looked like each other, and no one had the same things in their houses, and it was so diverse. And also you've got the diversity of people and their backgrounds and cultural elements that come into it. But it was just so different. Even like the way people dress, so different. No one had like the same shoes on, It was, and I feel Australia can be quite trend-based where you end up with like homes that look the same. Yep. Especially here in a small community like Byron. And I think what happens here is people want to support local businesses. So there's like, a couple places you can go for things for your home.
Yep.
And what ends up happening is our homes all kind of look like each
Same,
other.
yeah.
I definitely think there's like a Byron look, don't
Yes.
you? When I look at like
Yes.
Airbnbs in
Yes.
Byron, they kind of all have that look.
The
Yeah.
coastal chic
Yeah.
kind of,
And like even dressing, going on the street.
sure.
Everyone's
Yeah.
in the same Byron designed yoga brand.
Oh yeah, my God, you'll just see
Everyone is in. I'm like, what is this? What are these clothes?
But that's again, it's a local brand.
Yeah.
She lives here. She's
Yeah.
a lovely woman.
Yeah.
And probably everyone's like, if I'm going to buy exercise wear, I want to support the cute
Yeah.
local woman.
yeah.
And it's trendy.
Yeah.
And cool, and
Yeah.
people are trying to be very cool. But that's what happens here. Like
Yeah.
I remember very clearly like living here for not even a month, and I went and bought a pair of sandals from St. Agni. They were just starting out.
Yeah.
And I had these sandals, and I thought I was kind of like the only one. And I looked around, like everywhere I went, everyone had these same sandals. And I was like, oh my God, we all look the same.
We're becoming clones.
I made a joke yesterday to someone like, do they give you a wardrobe full of linen shirts when you arrive, or do you need to go and buy them?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a cliche, but it is kind of true in that way. Like, I mean, hopefully the linen phase is kind of
I think that's gone.
Gone.
The joke didn't land because everyone's
yeah.
like, people
I think there were
don't
so
wear that
many
anymore.
jokes. People were like, "Oh my god, I better
We
ditch
got
the
to
linen."
get rid of the linens.
They were like, that was
Phase
2
it
years
out
ago,
for
man.
winter. Oh God.
Oh god, okay. And so it must, living here must influence your design taste a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, this is such a boring and practical thing to say, but like we live in a climate that's really humid, and so you cannot have things that are going to get moldy.
Yeah.
You know, like the mold factor is so integral to the way we live here. We do not keep clutter. I do not store things we don't use anymore. You can't like put things in a cupboard and expect that you take it out next time it's winter or summer or the opposite, this next season, it's going to be okay. Like it isn't,
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like, even that is a huge thing. I've really learned like when we were in Europe, you could have like so many like little knick-knacky things and your houses could feel very characterful. But here, because of the climate, like you've got to have a more simplified home.
Sure.
So that is
Yeah.
that alone forces you to be more minimalistic. But also it's like, because of the nice weather, you spend a lot of time outside and, you're not as much inside. And so the coziness of the home doesn't matter as much. Things like that. Like I remember when we moved here, I thought kind of homes were a bit boring here just because they just lacked that depth. But the longer I live here, the more I kind of am like, yeah, I can see why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easy to get outside.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you
Like,
don't have too
you're
much
never really
stuff.
home anyway.
Yeah,
Like you just want to go to the
exactly.
beach. Like
Yeah.
let's just have the ease of getting to the beach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That matters more than like your home.
Yeah, for sure.
So
The
I gotta
mold
admit,
factor is the behind the glamour, really, isn't
oh,
it?
it's such a thing.
Yeah, insane. I've never thought about it as a problem like that before.
Well, people ask me all the time, how do you have such little so few things? And I'm like, well, you have to.
Yeah.
You cannot keep.
They got
'Cause they throw out
moldy
moldy
years
stuff.
ago. We haven't replaced them.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'd definitely put up with the mold for the rest.
Yeah.
I think it's a small trade-off.
You just have to have like 2 dehumidifiers
Yeah.
and have all you've got to open your windows anytime it's sunny and
Yeah.
just do all the things.
Do
Yeah,
that
sure.
stuff. Wow,
Yeah.
yeah. In my intro, I was going to say you're a sort of a modern Renaissance woman. You've done so much and seem to have a lot of like really interesting big projects on the go. What are you working on? What's next for 2024 and beyond?
I don't know if I'm like technically allowed to say, but I'm writing a book.
Oh, fantastic.
Which is exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic.
Can you give a hint, or it's still...
It's it's going to be about family homes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, and I'm really excited, and I've already started writing, and it's just like flowing and easy to put onto paper the thoughts that are in my head, and so that's really exciting.
Awesome. And does that involve photography as well? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm really excited about it, and
Oh, cool. Will it be sort of
hopefully I'm
coffee
allowed to
table?
share.
We can put this out when
We
you
can
are, if you
do
want.
it.
Yeah. I think they call it an embargo. That's fine.
Yeah. It's going to be something you'd put on your coffee table.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Hopefully in time for Christmas. That's the sort of stuff that my dad loves.
Yeah.
Family, he has a shelf of those types of books.
Yeah, I love those kind of books too.
Yeah, well, that's that. Sounds like an awesome project. Are you working? I assume you have a publisher, or how does that work? Do you find them and just pitch it, or?
Yeah, I actually I'm working with Michael, my husband, and we found 2 publishers, and they were both keen, and so we were very lucky because we got to choose, and yeah.
Fantastic.
Great concept.
Bidding war.
Yeah, it was really we were very flattered by the
Yeah.
response to it. And so that's exciting. It's funny, I started at the start of this year. I always take like the month of January off. I go offline completely. Like I put my phone in a cupboard. I don't even do texting, just to hang out with my kids and And it's always so difficult to re-emerge into the online world once I've done that. Every year I struggle, but this year I really, really struggled to kind of get back onto Instagram and get back online. And, you know, of course I love it for lots of reasons that I said before, but I'm just like an old-fashioned person. Michael always says, I don't know how you've ended up having a job that's like online.
Social media.
I have to still write things like in a paper diary and like, and so I just said, I just need to do more things that are like real things, like not being like I still have to be on my phone and on my computer, but if I can transition a little bit more to doing like real life things, like even events that are like real life and connecting in real life with people. Writing a book is wonderful because I'm kind of, I'm still on a computer, but.
It kind of distracts you though, like those hours you're not really thinking about.
Yeah.
What's going on Instagram.
Really, if I could, I would just like have a bed and breakfast and make people like yummy porridge every morning and just like talk to interesting people, and that would just be my job. Or like I would be like an shopper.
Yeah.
I mean,
look, if I could just pass it off, it could still happen.
Honestly, this is what I want in my life.
Yeah, totally.
Like, what do I like doing? Shopping at op shops.
I like op shops.
Making people breakfast. Putting little like flowers and bud vases next to a bed.
Yeah.
I mean,
the options are still there in the future.
I just gotta find a way to make money doing it, and then when I'm sweet.
It's quite crazy. You ended up with this massive Instagram audience when really you just want to be making porridge.
It's
typing on a typewriter.
And some bud vases, just to monetize it. That's not a problem. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
I look forward to the op
If
shop
anyone
pivot.
can do it, I'm sure you can. I'm sure you'll figure it out, and then we'll just see like Courtney's porridge.
Oh, that's great. But like a coffee table book or whatever type of book, it is, the outcome is a very nice, tangible thing. Which is great.
Exactly. I think it will be. And then we have like more ideas. Like I've been wanting to write a book for, since we lived in London, and actually had like a book agent and never even like did anything with it. And so I have like books that are like in the back of the mind that need to come out.
Sure.
And so that's exciting. So I feel like I'm entering that journey and finally committing to doing it, which is exciting.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Courtney.
Thanks,
Thanks for having us in your house.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Beautiful house in the new area I'm going to move to.
In Amy's new
and
hometown.
George is going to leave me here.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Courtney.
Thanks for having me.